tutorial video. My tripod's acting a little weird. Okay, I think we're good. So, today, and I'm Andrew Broussard. This is going to be a kind of demo exploration continuation of our sketching the human form. We're not going to get to portraits or anything like that, but that's kind of the goal for today. So, last time I showed you all this book, Constructive Anatomy, which I think, like I said, you could find anywhere, and I think there's PDFs of it up on Amazon. But as I was looking through it, so it was originally copyrighted in 1920, I believe. Yeah. So I'm not sure of the whole copyright situation with it, but with something that old, usually you can find copies of it, maybe the original or something, on Internet Archive. But like I said, I'm not sure if it's still in their copyright or whatnot. So I looked, and lo and behold, I did find it on there. So you can find like really, really old art books from that time period on Internet Archive. And another person I'd found was stuff by Burge Harrison, his books, and that was like 1908, 1909 that one came out. Anywho, so I was looking through it, and I found The Complete Guide to Drawing from Life. I think that all the books that I had mentioned by this guy that they list were kind of different pamphlets that were put out. And then they got put into different books. And then ultimately, they might have been compiled into this one. So just looking at it page-wise, this has, let's say, 170. And this guy had 346. So I think it is a compilation. Anywho, so I thought it would be good to kind of like slowly start going through this and looking what they have on it. You can find a copy of this on, like I said, Internet Archive, and just search the name and search for the author. Just check out just copyright laws in your state or country. I'm not sure, like I said, how it works for something this old. Anyway, so I figured we'd kind of work through it, read the stuff, sketch it, and whatnot. And then from there, look at maybe a little bit of Boldini's figure drawings and kind of just sketch from that. So the book starts off with an outlining procedure, but I'm going to skip that. That'll be something that I'll maybe come back to. It's kind of different from the approach that I had learned. But the second section, the proportion of the human figure, oddly enough, is what I had learned in my life drawing and painting class. And I think this is where it comes from. So there's 3 different proportion guides on looking at the human figure. And the one that I believe I learned, there might have actually been a kind of cross between the two. But we'll look at all 3. So the first one is by Dr. Paul Richer. Okay. I guess maybe somebody's name was Rich, and he wanted to one-up him and be named Richer. Okay, lame joke of the day. It's done. So here it is 7.5 heads. So looking at it, the concept is like, here's the head length: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we'll do half a circle. And that would be top to bottom. I did kind of get smaller in size as I went down, but these would all be equal length. And from this, we can then look for certain positions on where the human form is. So let me do a better drawing of that. And in fact, what I'll do is I'll use a little edge of something for each of these measurements. So this is the first, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then we want about half. Okay. So in the top region is the head. Okay. And we have the top of the head. And we have the chin. Okay. Now the next is broken in half. And at that point is the shoulder. So we have the neck, the traps, and then the deltoid. Neck, traps, deltoid. They don't have that labeled on here, but I'm going to write that. Deltoid. Deltoid. This would be your traps. And this is neck. Okay. Now, this next one is what looks to be a nipple line. Let me get a different colored ink so we can have this go back and forth. Let's see what I got in here. What do I have inked up? I need to go through and clean out some of the fountain pens. So I'm going to accentuate that so you can see it better. And that's halfway between it. And I'll continue down. Okay. So we have the nipple line here, and this figure, he has a male figure and a female figure. For the male, it's relatively close, right in there. For the female's nipple sits right on that line. And then the kind of curvature in the deltoid ends at that point too. Curve ends. So the deltoid just anatomically has 3 heads. Rear, is it the posterior? There's 3 different parts to it. One in the front, one on the side, one along the back. So we have that hook in here. Then we have another half come down. So let me mark that half. Half. And at that half, it looks like it is halfway down the arm. So I'm going to continue here. Nothing phenomenal happening with the body at that point. So we just come in, the arm. But at the next one, we have the belly button. And what looks like the elbow. So let me kind of sketch a little bit what I'm seeing here. We have the body come in here. Let's mark that off as belly button. Okay. Now, anything else important at that spot? I'm not too happy with the uncertainty of the elbow. It looks like the drawing, and let me see if I can show you, it would be this spot right in here on that. Okay. There's another half marked off here. Nothing super spectacular. But down here, it looks like we have the groin. And we have the wrist. Let me see if I can get this sketched in. So at the belly button, before the belly button, we have a curvature out. And it seems that this half point might actually be, I would say, the widest part of the hips, but it is different for the woman drawing. So that's another thing we'll kind of just avoid for right now. We'll try to get the ones that we can see clearly. So wrist comes down. Give them kind of Popeye arms. And then the wrist. Now let's mark this half. And at this half, we have the wrist, hands, fingers extend a little bit further than that point. Okay. So fingers are a little bit longer than that half point. Next we have this right here between the 8 mark and the half mark. Looks like our knee sits in that position. Make it a little too far out, but knee sits between 2. Okay. So we'll bring this in. It comes in, goes alongside the knee. At the next, I've gotten a little distracted. Okay, so half, full is top of knee, 1/8 is below knee, 1/2 of that, so 1/16 down is below the knee. The next box is the widest of the calf. So at that point, widest of calf. Is it C-A-L-F? We'll do calves. There we go. Just so I don't have to worry about spelling. Okay. So at that point, we have that there. And drag those out so we can kind of see. So that's the crotch, the groin area. Widest point of calf. And then in the last half, which is 1/16 of this whole thing. So I'm not trying to throw too much math at y'all. If we break it up to 8 heads and we break the heads in half, that means we're going to have 16 parts. And that little half of one is a 16th right there. I don't know, I wrote 1/1/16. So it's 1/16 of the head of the whole thing is the foot itself. So here is the ankle. And bottom of foot. So this is a proportion guide that was invented by Dr. Paul Richer. It does not say when he had come up with that. However, if this gentleman was copywriting in 1920, here's the knee. It comes in like here, then it goes wide out to the widest point of the calf. It comes back in for the ankle. And then we have the foot. So it didn't have like this other side drawn for this figure. I'm just kind of just sketching it in a little bit just so we can have that there. So that is the proportion guide based off of this. And like I said, if it's in this book, if this is from around 1920s, this must have been relatively popular for other people during that time period. Okay. So the next one is the 8-headed one, which was Michelangelo. And let's see if we could put Michelangelo's one together. What I'll do is I'll turn this paper on the side. I have to be somewhat frugal with paper at the moment. Oh, hey, a great time for me to mention. If there's, I have a Patreon link down below, and if you want to support and help, purchase art supplies and things like that, please consider supporting me. And I also have 2 simple tiers. One's like $2 or $3. The other one's $5. The $5 one has some exclusive content for Patreons. Okay, let's see. I don't want to smear that. Okay. So this is Michelangelo's approach. And his is 8 heads. So I'll use this guy again to mark off. I'll do 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, cool. All right, so one of these is a head length, though, so I'll just draw that on the side just so you see what that means. So it's a head length. 1 head. Now, this figure is posturing. I'm going to try to line this one up. Now, it seems like the chin is about here. Okay, so the one head. Then the second one is the deltoid. So chin, top of head. I should have moved it over a little bit more. Let's do neck. Deltoid peak right here. Up, top of shoulder, traps. The neck would extend down below. Come out. We'd have that here. Now, somewhere in this region, so this is the head length, we have the bottom of the chest. So the chest seems to extend below it. Unfortunately, I don't think this reference might be the best that they have right here, just because, like I said, the posturing, there's kind of a little switching taking place. Let's see, this is elbow. So we'll bring that out. Elbow's right here. Then the next one comes down to the wrist. And these fingertips almost come all the way down. Okay, so also at this, here's the nipple line, a little bit below it. Here, I believe the nipple line was, it was about it. Yeah. Okay, here, indent at waist. So elbow, the sketch isn't coming out the best, so forgive me. but then we come out with the hips, and we have the widest part of the hip right there. We have the groin, belly button. So it looks like groin matches up with wrist. Belly button. And feeling on my body, this indent, I'm not quite sure what you would call that. Okay, so groin, widest part of the hip. We have an overlap on the legs, but that's just because of the posture. The knee here falls between the two. That's interesting. Okay, so bottom of knee. Widest point of the calf. If we look at the previous, the widest point of the calf, yeah, it was halfway between those circles too, between the heads. Okay, this guy comes out, brings him back in, brings it back in. Then from this halfway point, it just extends down to the foot. Okay, so here is that. Comes here. Okay, so that's the layout for Michelangelo's approach. This is just a subjective, but I think this one is easier. The 7.5 heads, the Dr. Paul Richer approach so far. But like I said, this one is affected by this the posture that this person is taking. Okay, so let's move on to the last. Is Dr. WM Reiner. Okay, I'm not going to use black ink. It's kind of bleeding through a little bit, so let's go Dr. WM. It might be Rimmer or Reimer. And this approach is I'm not really sure what's going on with this one. I don't know if he goes into detail about Reimer, so let's just try it out. So there's a line. This is another line. These two distances seem to be the same. So it looks like it's treating these two masses and then here. All right, so the head, neck, and shoulders. Feels a little cramped up in this one, but so that's that deltoid shoulder that we talk about. It's almost like hairline. So I'm just going to call it to that. We come to that V taper in the body that bodybuilders try to get. The arms come down. Knee. And the foot. So, unfortunately, I don't think this one offers a lot of insight that would be helpful. Our knee position is, actually, this would be the bottom of the knee, I believe, if I look at it. It's just a very kind of cramped rest. It doesn't really give too much relationship rather than that. And then this one down here, I believe it is the same doctor that it's coming from. This is a square though, so let's draw a square. All four sides are equal on a square. We have our diagonals come across. Okay, and the groin. And when I say groin, I mean like the whole like kind of genital region right there. So we have the head, arms outstretched, shoulder. So, once again, we'll bring down that. And the feet. I'm not going to spend too much time on this one. I think just the main point is that main point from this one is groin at center, and then outstretched hands. I believe that is wingspan, is what they call that. Wingspan, same as height. And that's the two kind of takeaways that I just see from this one. Okay. So that is, in conclusion, discussion of 3 different proportion methods. I think this one is the most detailed, and this is probably what he winds up following in this book, and we'll see that as we do more research. Like I said, the Michelangelo head one was interesting, but I'll just, to beat a dead horse, the posture did throw off a little bit. I was able to line up a lot more stuff with this one as opposed to here. Though groin, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, groin is at the exact center as the Dr. Rimmer. I'm going to tear this out so we can flip back and forth. So groin's at the exact center. And here, because we have that half, that's not the exact center of the body. The exact center of this drawing would be a little bit higher, right in this range. Probably 1/32 of an inch, or 1/32 of the relationship between them. So I hope that was helpful. I hope that was interesting. like I had said at the beginning, I wanted to have a Baldini sketch after this. I didn't anticipate this taking so long, but I think a lot of valuable information that we could take away from it. So we'll see you all soon with another video. Please like, subscribe, comment, ask any questions. Any insight that you have, I would love to hear from you. All right, have a great day. Bye.